What's up, YouTube? What's up, Extreme Gains family? I'm Chuck. This is Extreme Gains. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is or ever will be financial advice. Please do not take it as such. Today is Monday, February 7th, 2022. This is the AMC and SPY Algo Exposed update preparation video for tomorrow and beyond. Today was all over the place. At least it felt that way, a little bit. So let's go ahead. We'll dig into the macro to macro, the snake algo, and the SPY algo overlay from 0809. Take a look at those, see where we're at, see where we might be going into tomorrow, and we'll try to get you out of here. So let's dig in. On your left is the AMC Micro 5-minute. This is today's movement here. We finished the day down 2.87%. We're up 3% at one point, and currently up 0.94% in after hours, trading at $15.05 per share. The snake algo did play out perfectly today. The projected movement, according to it, was spot on. I talked about a potential short-term move up in the video last night, followed by a push to the downside, which is exactly what we got. I talked about the reference of these candles, how they indicated the move up, right, in two forms, but we didn't get the volatility that this is displaying. And I pointed that out with this and said, keep that in mind and in sight, that it is indicating a move up, but not to, potentially not to this level, or it could have, right? But I think what's happening, I hope y'all are kind of catching on as to how I kind of read these things when I point these little nuanced things out to you when looking at the generalized perspective of the macro movements of this whole thing. So that's on the 5-minute. Let me zoom out to the 1 hour and show you. We were discussing this today in the live stream, just how spot on this version of the current snake algo overlay from micro to macro has been leading and showing and proving for, like I said, 3 weeks as of Wednesday. It's dead on. I mean, it has been absolutely dead on. So again, these things only work as long as they work. Once they don't, right? We switch into different time zones, and that becomes something that I really haven't dove into too much out here on YouTube, but as you saw in real time when I found this one, I did kind of explain a lot of it to y'all in the live stream, but nonetheless, it's been really giving us spot on projection here for the last 3 weeks. With that said, what is this indicating from a potential move tomorrow? You can see here we're getting a little pushback up. I guess read this as potentially looking for a downside move to some extent down into here, right? Generalized perspective of overall movement. Maybe not this whole move, right? It's only not a full, that's more than a day there. I don't know what I was about to say. Tripping over my words. Had dinner, made me tired. So that's our spacing for a day. That's our linear time, roughly. A generic way of looking at it and figuring. So if this pushes up, it's indicating the bounce up here, right? Push down, bounce up. So if we're getting the bounce up now, I'd expect potentially the push down here tomorrow, according to this, in this position. Let's go back into 5 and look, see if that confirms it. So you can see it runs down, right? Bounces back up, and then it continues back down. Down, we're bouncing back up. So I would think we would see, and it may come up a little more short term, just like yesterday I mentioned, and how we got that fulfillment today. It may do the same, something along those lines, right? But that's kind of what that's indicating to me as I look at it right now with you in real time. This isn't something I sit here and go over before I do this. I just dive right in with y'all. So bear with me, bear with the mistakes if I stumble and bumble a little bit. that is the macro perspective of this entire fractal. Again, if this is the entire fractal and it does continue to fulfill in its entirety, that's what it would look like. The previous, what would that be? That's the macro third does become a significant level, as I talked about in the video last night, if this were to play out in its entirety. So that is the current snake algo. The other one, I'm not going to look over the bullish. We didn't get today the move to the upside, the curl around in the bullish scenario of the inverted head and shoulders. Does not mean in any way that it couldn't. Actually, I am going to go over it. Let's go over that real quick while I'm over here. See if I have that here. There is the previous snake and its rough laid out positioning. Something like that. Okay, so it's kind of still in play. This would, I think, for this to be on the table with this head and shoulders, and even from just the technical setup of the inverted head and shoulders, like I said in last night's video, this shoulder needs to close itself off. That's what this move to the upside would indicate, and it would need to do that to get that fulfillment. Okay, so that would be the bullish setup coming out of that inverted head and shoulders and potential technical setup on that as well. Over here is the macro to macro, and I'm going to bring this back up. I've had a couple people, the comparative, a couple people reach out and indicate, hey man, you need to change that to yada, yada, yada. My answer to that is no, man, I don't. At least not right now. I'm going to go ahead and show you this. Now, it is a little bit of a different setup here because I box topped this. But nonetheless, there's the setup, right? Literally level to level almost. Tops, tops, full on box top breakdown. The checkup on the way down, tops, and that's what's transposed. Checkup on the way down, the tops, the rest of the way down, right, is all of this. Granted, a little more compressed than this, but nonetheless, you can see why it is and why I feel that it needs to be exactly where it's at for obvious reasons. Let's go ahead and zoom in, take a look at this. Again, I like to show this in its entirety, the replicated movements that it's already given. And again, this has given movements clear up to the top of this fractal and down into this descending wedge, which on this one, transposed, is up into the top of this and down into this descending wedge. It does actually give a little more. There's a nuance in here, changes things up just a tad, but nonetheless, it does portray the majority of those almost in the entire fractal. But nonetheless, I hate to take this off just yet. It is because of what it's given. And like I explained in last night's video, I explained at the end of the live stream today, this is starting to divert a little bit, right? If this is here, excuse me, I don't know what's wrong with my throat. Like this, we are seeing this. Granted, if this shoulder closes off, like I just talked about, that would, in my opinion, invalidate this fractal at that point, right? But like I explained last night and in the live stream, if this were to make a strong move down and continuation to the downside, and it were to look like this, that is not something that I or we or you, I think, would invalidate at that point. Something I may take and stretch out a little bit like that, and then it would cover that, right? It would make sense at that point. So at this time, it's not something that I'm ready and willing to invalidate just because of this little indication of a curl up. Did reject and give the move to the downside again. For this, though, I really would like to see a strong move to the downside for this to validate itself in that way. If it were to stay on the table in the position that it is currently in and has been for months. Okay, so that is the macro to macro overlay. snake algo overlay and projection on both, and the previous snake bullish, so the 2 bearish and then the bullish overlay and projection on all 3 of them, and what it is that I'm looking for going into tomorrow. Now, I have not done anything with this yet. I did talk to y'all about this in the live stream, at the end of the live stream. And what I've done, well, actually, I kind of did. Right after the live stream, I went back to pretty much my original overlayment position of this. I explained this to a lot of y'all in the live stream today. My Discord, I put an alert out this morning and attached these to it. A week ago, one of y'all suggested potentially compressing this a little bit so that the bottoms of this W down here were to line up and they weren't staggered away from where my original placement of the SPY was, which was somewhere between where I had it, right? I pretty much had this lined up with this. But nonetheless, you see in this position, it does replicate the moves for a longer period of time. This is where I originally had it. I'm going to bring something up here when I'm done and show you as well from back in the day before I had access or even knew what the bars pull was. But I went ahead and I put this back where we were talking about right before I closed the live stream, and potentially what would justify this consolidation of movement here. And the only thing I can find in positioning would be something like that, right? That would justify that consolidation to that extent on the right side of this, rather than it being on the left side as I showed you all previously today. So there's that. Right, again, if we compress it in, try to get the consolidation lined up, something along these lines. Right, again, there's an extension. This was the compressed version. The extension of that consolidation is what threw that off for me in that position where last night I was talking about the move to the downside, a strong move down. To validate that, we did not get that initially, and we got continued pretty much flat consolidation, volatility, but flat consolidation. So we have the compressed overlay in that position, and then we have my original positioning of this overlay where the bottoms of the W's there really don't line themselves up too well, but to get this on the right hand or the left hand side, like I was showing you all, and this is something that I'm playing with and gonna watch as it plays out, right? To see if I'm in the right place, if I have it laid in the right place. I had it like this today, essentially, right? You can see how that's replicated. That's replicated. This is replicated, obviously bigger, big brother, little brother type. W is there. It's a little staggered. The move downside is there. The W is there. The check up is here. The move back down is here. And then it disconnects from there. This was essentially my first overlay position of SPY with the bars chart. The bars pattern clip tool. It does indicate a little bit of pullback and consolidation here. Maybe not as much as that gave us. But again, just like I showed on the macro to macro with AMC, if this were to bolt itself up into here, right, and then you zoom out, that is not something that I'm going to invalidate. I mean, you look at the rest of these, right? They can be off and staggered a little bit and still fulfill. So quite frankly, I'm more comfortable right now with it in this position. This is where I've kept it for quite a long time. And as you can see, it has indicated all of these moves clear back in September of 2021 until now. So I'm going to leave this like this for for the time being. I'm going to stay convicted to the positioning that I originally had with this until it proves otherwise, in a way that invalidation is undeniable. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at with SPY and the overlay right now. As far as projection, like I just said, for this to stay relevant for me and on the table in this position, and that's the first thing I do when something looks to be potentially invalidating. I don't just remove it from my table, right? I just don't take it off my radar, excuse me. The first thing I do is look at the positioning of it, because if it's been right this long, again, they do divert and invalidate at times. But when you have something that's been tracking like this for this long, and you've been putting this time and effort into it and looking at different positions of these things, and yet the original one continues to fulfill, even though it may be staggered and a little bit different, that's fine. Different times, right? Different time charts, really, to be honest. This was something we had to do comparative volume on. So, you know, that's the first thing I do. I don't just eliminate it. So until it does that, I'm going to leave it on, like I said. But anyways, this would indicate that bullish move to the upside. If this were to, in this position, stay there. Obviously, if it were not, damn it, if it were not this position and it were something like this, what I explained today, you see the wick up. You see the double top there with the wick up. Again, I'm not going to move the whole thing. I'm just going to show you this. In reference to that, with this consolidation there, which does make sense. And when you compress this in, it does make sense, right? With this consolidation, this would indicate a move to the downside. These are the two things I'm looking for with the positioning of this overlay on SPY moving into tomorrow. Outside of that, that is what I have for y'all today. We had a good day. Again today, AMD calls for everybody seemed to hit today. A lot of y'all made some money. Very proud of that. Y'all should be proud of yourselves. It's awesome. It's awesome to see y'all doing well. Awesome to see y'all making money. Coming together, supporting each other as a community, cheering each other on, whether you're in the trades or not, with other people. Those of you that share that success with everybody, with us in the live stream and in the chat, thank you for sharing that. It is uplifting, especially in some of these days that we've been dredging through lately. And it really does keep the light and the fire lit. So thank you all for sharing that. Other than that, y'all, that's all I have for you today. I'll be live back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for market open to market close. Like always, do me a favor, leave a like on the video, comment on the video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And if I don't see you in tomorrow's live stream, and I will see you in the update video tomorrow night after we close out the day tomorrow, Tuesday, February 8th. Talk to you all then. Enjoy your evening. Hope the update helped, and I will see you all in the morning. Talk to you then. Later.